their username. Everyone's responsible to create their own password, and I'll just log in here. Now, there's 4 different views to manage work orders in Maxpanda. One, and the most popular, is the list view. Everything is listed here. If you click status, you can look at, you can customize the view. For example, every time I log into Maxpanda on any browser, I also want to see my closed work orders. I've just loaded 1,218 work orders on this list here. Now, the closed work order, that's the last stage of a work order. So these are my, this is a KPI here of year to date, but you could customize that from, day 1 or just this month's data. Now, all work orders that are submitted, they come in as yellow. Obviously, they go into the approval stage or the rejection stage. A staff or vendor can complete a work order. A supervisor, editor, administrator, those are the 3 top roles. They are the only ones that can actually close a work order. So a work order in Maxpanda, not a PM. PMs are automatically approved depending on the schedule. But a submitted work order comes in as pending. Someone has to approve that or reject it. A lot of times you might get, the similar request coming in twice from 2 different staff members. So you can reject one or cancel one and then approve the second or first one. It goes through the stages, and then somebody has to close off that work order at the end. Now, I don't want to see my closed work orders every time I log into Maxpanda, so I'll just customize that. This list view, every column is customized by you. So if you don't want reference ID to be shown for your staff every time they log in, or who's the work order assigned to, which staff or vendor, every one of these is customized. You can view, you can hide them or show them. Okay. This is one of the views. The second view I mentioned is the mobile app. So everything I'm showing you today is doable on the mobile, whether you're an administrator like yourself or a view-only role, a vendor, staff, maintenance staff, or a supervisor. So the difference between a staff personnel, maintenance staff, and a supervisor is your staff, those 3 guys you mentioned, or 3 people, they can only complete a work order. So you'll know that the work has done. And then at that point, you can either do a visual inspection, or if you trust them, you can just go ahead and close it off. We do have multi-closing as well. So if you do have, 10 of them that are completed, you simply use the checkbox, first 10 here, and I can close them off in a single click. The supervisor can close the work orders. A administrator a site editor or a company admin, company editor, they'll close the work orders. That's the final stage. Timestamps is automatically done depending, as soon as the status is changed, and everything is reported on instantly whenever you want to. Now, I mentioned the list view. I mentioned the mobile app. There is also a map view. I don't think you'll be using the map view. That's more for construction companies or people that are moving assets from one location to the next. If you want to track where exactly your staff are, you can look at, the staff work orders. The mobile app tracks the GPS if they enable it. You can see where they are in a particular area. The 4th view is the calendar view. So if you don't like lists or maps or mobiles, you can use the calendar. It asks you to, if you want to do any filtering here, like work orders, meters, PMs, active or any future ones. I didn't pick anything. I selected all of it. So this is my world in March. Most of my work orders are overdue. They're red, and there is a graph here showing, or an image showing all the status colors. You'll notice the blue, light blue are future. So the calendar has a couple good options. One is it shows you all of your future PMs. So these are blues. These are not work orders yet, but as you see, today is Monday. On Wednesday, I have a PM that's going to turn green, and it is a 5-day due date. It's due on Sunday. So this is going to automatically turn green, and I don't have it assigned to anybody, but when I set up PMs, I can assign it to piece of equipment and a user, like a staff personnel or a vendor. So they're going to get notified automatically. Now, another benefit to the calendar is you can drag and drop certain work orders and reschedule them. So here's one, April 10th. If it's a holiday, you know no one's going to be able to change the pool filter here. You can bring it up to the Monday or Tuesday or even tomorrow, right? And Maxpanda will change that work order, the due date, etc., but it's not going to alter your preventive maintenance schedule. That is an option, but in that case, I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to go back to the list view just so I can show you all the color status changes. Before we get into creating a work order today, which will take the bulk of our time and, during the presentation, we'll start at the top here. Now, I'm managing 13 different sites. So today, I'm just going to stay in Maxpanda headquarters site. It's got 20 buildings, about 5,000 work orders. But as a company admin, you can see I can go to a different site. So I can go to New York, for example, and these are different work orders. There's different buildings, equipment, people, etc. So it's a totally different database. The people here do not see any data in Maxpanda headquarters site. Again, in your situation, you just need one site here. The default name will be called corporate. You obviously change it to whatever you want. You upload your own logo, etc. Now, real quick, these are all the user predefined user roles in Maxpanda. Again, you're going to be the company admin. That person has access to this tab here, company tab. The company tab allows you obviously to update the credit card, a lot of preferences here like hiding, changing the email text that goes out, the push notification text, the label names in the forms that we use, hide columns. Basically, the entire Maxpanda experience, user experience in Maxpanda is customized here. This is where you create your work categories. So your work categories are different than schools, for example. So here, you know, all these are customized. In fact, every drop-down you see in Maxpanda is customized by yourself. Now, they all come predefined with some basic information that allows you to get going right away. So priority, that's your due date for work orders, which is self-color-coded. I color-coded mine like so. You'll have low, medium, high, urgent as an example. So urgent meaning this work order must be completed within 24 hours, 1 day. Low is 7 days. That's the default. But as you can see, I've got other ones here like a 15-minute response. So I need this job done in 15 minutes. Now, if work orders pass any one of these approved priority settings, they become overdue. Okay, so again, you saw I've got a lot of overdue work orders, almost 1,100 of them. Again, this is a dummy account. No one closes the work orders on time. Okay, so that's the company administrator. I mentioned there's 4 maintenance staff here. So if I logged in as a staff unlimited, for example, you'll notice the permissions, the menu has shrunk. Now, Maxpanda took me right to my to-do list. So my to-do list is a list of work orders that have been assigned to myself. So Steve is responsible for 33 work orders right now. I could have picked and chose which ones I wanted to work on, but I also been assigned to them by someone higher than a staff role. My work orders is a database of all the work orders that I've submitted in the system. So we not only track who's being assigned to work orders, we'll also give you a database, or each person a database of what they've submitted. And that's helpful because that person can see, you know, the status is yellow, it's pending. So Jeremy, you haven't approved it yet. So I can actually open up one of my submitted work orders and say, hey, you know, when are you going to approve this work order? But the more importantly, I can see the progression of the work order from yellow to brown. We'll go back here. Today, I'm going to stay as the company admin for the rest of the presentation so you can see all the functionality. Again, we have different nuances with the limited and unlimited selection. You will, like, I will send you that link, which will have a description of what they can do in detail. But as an example, vendor limited. This company here, you'll notice the submit button is gone. So we don't allow them, or you won't allow them to submit new work orders in your account. They are just assigned to a work order as a vendor. They can put in their invoice, digital invoice. Purchase ordering, we won't go through that today. That's, another large module, but in simplicity, this vendor can't submit a work order to you. Their job is to complete work orders on time. The vendor unlimited, we do give them access to submit work orders. So if you trust a vendor, they can actually take a picture of a problem and submit it for you to approve. And they can complete task number 2 or 3 or 4 or how many work orders you've assigned to them before they leave the library. So again, there's a lot of differences in those permissions, but do you have any questions on the role management?
Not specifically on the role management, but I did have another question.
Go ahead.
So at the when you said that each person is assigned a username based on their email address.
Correct.
So is that for like each technician, or each maintenance person, or is that for even every single person who ever submits a work order?
Both. Who is submitting the work orders for you right now?
So the thing is, it could be anyone. It could be someone who, it could be a librarian. It could be a security person. So I guess my question is, instead of having each person have a username, is it possible for them to just be able to send an email,
Perfect.
and then the email generate a work order?
Not an email, but something more simpler. So if you go under site management here, every one of these sites here, so your single site, will have a guest portal. Okay? So here's the guest service portal here. It is customized by you. My guest portal, I'm showing all the fields. Okay? In an email, it's very hard to take pieces of information and assign it to a specific asset, right? It's impossible. So we have an open form for you. This form, and I'll show you this in about 1 minute. Now, you mentioned username. So here's invite a user. This is how you would invite an actual registered person, and your maintenance staff should be registered. And you said you had 3 of them. So here's my maintenance personnel. I have 3 people here. I have their email. You would assign them as staff. Unless you want them to close work orders, they could all be supervisors. I would put them as staff. You pick your site. It'll be one site. You're going to be English US. This information, you don't need to assign them to a specific building. If you don't select it, they'll be assigned to everything. And if I click invite right now, each one of these people will receive an email and they'll set up their profile. Okay. So this is my profile. So my email becomes my username, and I can now opt in or out of certain email notifications. So some of your staff don't care to get, emails when a work order comes in as pending. So they don't, or let's say when a work order is completed. So they can opt in or out of those system emails. So I'm going to save that. Now that is how a registered user would do it. In your case, in your question here, all you need to do is create a code word, and this could be library 1 or whatever code you want, and it adds it to your link here. You could customize the form. I'm showing everything so you can see what's available, but this link can be pasted in your intranet. It could be on the librarian's desktop, or you can simply print this QR code. This QR code cannot be scanned by our mobile app, okay? Because the mobile app is secure, it's SSL. This is an open form. So anyone in the world, even me, Steve, that walks into the library, if I saw this, I can actually scan it and submit a problem to you guys. Web link, you can add different links like terms and conditions or whatever you want. That'll be added to the form. So let's look at what the form looks like. So if I click this from my desktop or scan the QR code on my mobile, this is what it would look like. And I have made certain fields required, and I'm showing all the fields. So this is an open form. You'll see there's no username or password required whatsoever. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, actually, that's really cool. I like that a lot.
Excellent. Yeah, and a lot of schools and resorts, they use the guest portal. And each site you create, or each site has its own guest portal. So you will get an email with the link to this. So will the submitter. Okay, and so we don't need your email servers. We handle all of the emails within Maxpanda, whether you're using the guest portal or through the mobile application. All right. So real quick, the dashboard here, Maxpanda headquarters, we break up your work orders in certain lists. Again, you're going to have my to-do list if you ever get assigned to a work order. My work orders is a database of everything you've submitted. So the guest portal, the person won't have this information, right? That's the problem. They'll only have a bunch of emails that are going back and forth through the guest portal system. So for you, you've got managing all the work orders. We have your PM library. We have a large shared template library as well, so you can bring in PMs that other customers have uploaded or our techs have uploaded. So, like a monthly filter change on an HVAC, we don't need you to write it all up again. It's all there, so you just import it into your library and then create it as a PM. Task library, tasks are digital checklists. So anything that, you want to add to a work order or to a PM, you just create a task checklist. The checklist has 5 different data fields that you can capture, like letters, numbers, date range, dates, time, checkboxes, even range values. So what's the temperature like in the room? 71 to 73. And if somebody puts, 80, then it'll email you. So there's a lot of, functionality in the tasks. I mentioned the company tab. This is only accessed by the company administrator. That's you. Buildings. So when you set up Maxpanda, you're going to have the single site, when you sign in, register, you're going to have a single site. It's going to be corporate. Then you can edit the name, change it to the library's name. Then you add your building. Now let's look at adding a building here. So you're going to add a building using this form here. You don't use the multi-template sheet. This template sheet, it's an Excel sheet that you can upload up to 67,000 buildings, the name and the locations, etc., immediately. So you download the blank sheet, you fill it out, building 1, 2, 3, whatever, and then you upload it, right? So that all of our customers are, your data setup can be done within like 15 minutes. Because it sounds like you have a lot of this information anyway, so copy and paste it right into the sheet there. Again, because you only have one building, you just put the building there. Next step is adding the locations and the assets. And remember, a location can be independent of the building. It doesn't have to be tied to a building. It could be like a baseball field, but most of your locations will be, pertaining to your main building, to the library. Room 1, office 2, basement, roof, wherever you want people to submit a work order towards. Same with your questions so far?
No, I like what I'm hearing so far.
Excellent. So we don't need to go through all the menu system. That's something that our customers grow into. Obviously, step 1 is, adding your buildings and data first, which is very quick. Number 2 is you want to start allowing people to submit those work orders into Maxpanda, all these pending requests. Those are simple, right? Anyone can submit a work order. Then you're going to start approving and closing off work orders. Step 2, our customers then get into the PMs. They start setting up their PMs, their schedule, and that's what we're going to focus on today, is a work order and a PM. Once you're comfortable with that, then you want to go into inventory. Now, the inventory module was actually designed about 10 years ago by University of Florida. So everything in here is professionally made. All the parts management, part transfers, cost, everything is here. How do you do your parts right now? Like, since you have vendors, I'm guessing they just, buy parts and then they bill you, correct?
Yeah, that's basically what happens.
Are you going to manage any inventory at all?
I don't think so. I'm not really concerned with that aspect of it.
Okay, perfect. We'll move forward. So today what we're going to do now for the next 20 minutes is we'll create a work order. You'll give me an example, so start thinking about that now. We will then look at a PM, and we'll see the difference between what makes a PM versus, the submitted work orders. Then we'll generate a report. Okay, so then we don't need to go into purchase ordering and part management and stuff like that. So let's make a real world example. I'll be Steve, the librarian. I'm going to submit a work order. What's my problem? What am I going to submit to?
Say the kid's bathroom, the toilet is overflowing. Excellent.
Very popular request. 3 ways I can do this, actually about 5 different ways. And I'll say them real quick. 1, Jeremy, you've given me access as a submitter. Okay, submitter tenant, same permission level. And I can log into my account here and I can click this button right there, submit a work order. Number 2 is I can do the same thing now on the mobile app. So because I have a username and password as a submitter, I can download the mobile and, I just got the news and I'm standing right by the bathroom. I can submit a new request on my phone. Number 3 is you printed the QR code of that location, kid's bathroom. So I can scan that using the GoMax mobile app. Number 4 is the guest portal, which I showed you earlier. I can just go back to my desk, go to the guest portal, and click submit work order. Today, we'll pretend you did give me access as a librarian, as a submitter. On the desktop, I clicked here. So you'll notice there's 3 stars here. These are the minimum requirements to create a work order in Maxpanda. The title, category, priority, okay, which is your due date. Everything else is optional. This information is not edited by a submitter. I'm logged in as an administrator. As an example, the librarian can't say, oh, don't start this job until April 16, right? It's starting today. So let's go ahead and do the title here. Men's washroom toilet overflowing. And I'll use an exclamation mark. I'll copy that. Now, the work order title is very important because this becomes the hyperlink in Maxpanda in all the emails that go back and forth. So, Jeremy, you're going to receive an email in about 5 minutes or after I complete this work order. And it's going to say there's a new work order that requires approval, men's washroom overflowing. And that's the hyperlink. You click it in your email and it takes you right to the work order. If you have the mobile app running, this is what the push notification pop-up text is going to become. You have an iOS or Android?
Android.
Android. So you'll just swipe down for your notifications. You'll see this text. You click it. Again, takes you right to the work order in the mobile app, where at that time you can approve it or you can reject it. We're going to approve it today. Reference ID is an open field. You can change these labels as well. So you can change work order title to, hey, buddy, what's your problem? As an example, right? Reference ID, you can put GL code or whatever. It's an open field. but we do report on it. Whatever is entered here, it is reported on. Category, this would be plumbing. Again, you're going to get the basic ones. I've expanded my list to other types. So we'll just put plumbing issue here. Categories are fantastic because you can filter all your plumbing work orders today. You could report on your plumbing work orders, whether they are today or the past, 20 years. Priority. Now, everybody's going to pick urgent. Am I correct on this?
Yeah.
So what happens if you can't complete it today? Like your vendor can't come tomorrow. So I'm going to show you how to handle that. Short description, I'll copy and paste. Now, the short description is not important in Maxpanda. It's the notes. The notes and the comments of the vendor or staff, there's an email that sends out when those fields are updated. So tomorrow, if the librarian, Steve the librarian, logs in and puts, hey, when is this going to be completed? So tomorrow I put this in, you're going to get another email with all of the updated information here. This text is red in your email compared to black from yesterday. So you know exactly what the librarian actually put in to update the work order. I can carbon copy my boss or somebody else for this problem. So Acme Plumber at abc.com. Now, I have to select what building I'm in. I'm going to select a building. So I'm in the main building. And again, this would be the list of all your buildings, whether you're using one or two. And as you pick your building, it's going to filter the locations that you've set up only for that building and all the equipment that are related in that building. So again, remember, I've got 30 buildings here and about 5,000 locations. I'm going to select this HVAC unit and my truck. Just pretend this asset is the toilet or in the this washroom here, which I've got first floor, but in your case it would be men's washroom, main 13. Okay. I could take a picture of the problem. Obviously, we don't want to for this issue, but any office documentation, any image, any even audio notes can be uploaded to a Maxpanda work order. Okay, and that's permanent, and we store it in your gallery, whether it's a image or a document or a audio. I'm going to submit the work order, and again, I'm Steve, the librarian. Two things are happening now, Jeremy, in this account. Number one is a new work order has been created. So I'm going to go back to list view again. We'll start from the top. So forget about Steve. Let's say I'm Jeremy now. Jeremy, you logged in and you see a new pending work order in your account, right? The latest always are on the top. Somebody needs to approve this. Now, your staff limited. These people and higher, they can approve. They can approve themselves a work order. They can assign themselves to a work order, but they can only complete it, as I mentioned earlier. Only a supervisor and higher can actually close off the work order in the end. So number one is, Jeremy, you've got new work order that needs approval and assignment, and number two, you received an email and a push notification. So we understand you're never going to be stuck at a computer 24/7, right? So everything is managed on the mobile. So let's go ahead now. Excuse me, dry cough. Let's go ahead now and edit the work order. So on the mobile or the desktop, you have two options. You can approve the work order or you can reject it. And if you click reject, there's a little pop-up here. Anything you put in there goes into the system in the status history notes here. No one can edit those. Okay, that's part of our HIPAA compliancy. But you can put a comment here saying, forget it. Now, if I reject it, Steve now is going to receive an email. Remember notes and comments? That's your email system. Steve is going to receive an email saying, forget it from you, right? And he'll see that the work order color status is black. It's been rejected. We can't use it, or it's gone. Now, rejected work orders don't count as part of your monthly work order count. We understand, mistakes happen, so you can reject those mistakes. Today, we are going to prove it, but Jeremy, first of all, you need to expand this. So you know this job can't be done today. Your vendor, you call them and they say they want at least a couple of days. So you're going to downgrade it to 3 days. You're going to give this work order 72 hours to be completed. Now, Steve, who submitted it, won't see that unless it's updated at all, okay? The time frame here is all time-stamped automatically by Maxpanda. Only you are allowed to edit these boxes, but you don't need to. That's what the boxes here do. There's more boxes coming. Stay tuned. You can upload files here, whether it's an O&M or a how-to manual, how to replace a toilet or fix it, whatever you want to do, add it here. All the attachments are in the work order attachments, and they're permanent. Company attachments are any attachments that you set up prior. So when I mentioned you creating your locations, well, you can add a picture or any file or document to that location, and it'll show up in Maxpanda in the work order. We know where the problem is. It's on that building, that floor, and it's this toilet here. Now, I picked a couple of random equipment just so you can see the company attachment feature, which I'll show you in a few minutes. Vendors. So these are our registered vendors. They have an account with us. They can download the mobile app, and they are able to complete the work order through the mobile or desktop. So here's a plumber. They don't have other information. So this would be a plumber, or this would be Acme Electric. So I'm assigning 2 different vendors to this work order. Now, if this work order was not vendor related, you would assign it to a staff personnel. So I'm going to assign Amber, add staff, and Jack, and the maintenance guy. These are our internal maintenance personnel, the 3 that work for you. The hourly rate is only viewed by Jeremy. The staff will put in how many hours and minutes it took them to replace the toilet or fix the toilet, the handle, whatever. We also have a tool time. It's a stop clock that if they want to, capture just the tool time, the actual time fixing and repairing the toilet there. Or they can just say, yeah, it took me an hour to do. So we're going to capture time. You can force them to do this before they complete the work order as well. That's all in the company tab. So because we're going to have hourly time, labor time, you set their hourly rate, whether it's $1 an hour for everyone or the real time. Now you can actually generate labor cost reports, and you can see what's Amber costing us this month. What did we spend in labor for one personnel or all of them? Now let's go back to the work order details here. At this point, I've assigned it to a vendor and I've assigned it to some staff. All I have to do is click approve. But there's more things that are available for you. Parts. Now you'll notice 3 parts came up. These are parts that I've assigned to those assets that we picked already. So these filters are pre-assigned to that air handler unit. And we have a price of them. And if we use, or your staff use some of our inventory, we will capture the costs. We'll capture how many pieces they've used from our inventory. So it's a very robust inventory system. It's all done through the usage of parts in a work order. Okay. Again, we'll go through that later on. If you want to add a checklist, I'll add a task checklist. I have 32 different checklists that I can pull in and assign to a work order, or pre-assign it to a PM or a metering type reading at any time. So here's a full checklist that I want to assign to this work order. Now, keep in mind, if you assign any checklists to a work order, any tasks to a work order, the tasks must be completed first before the user can complete the work order, okay? It won't let you complete a work order until this is done. Now, what does this full checklist look like? So I wrote this thing up about 10 years ago. A checklist, we can capture comments at the task level. The user must put completed or not completed. Again, to complete the work order, they must complete all of the tasks. Okay, so I have completed it here. Now, Jeremy, you could assign this to any one of your staff, separate from the work order. So Amber is going to do the task, but Jack is going to fix the toilet. You can assign a different vendor to the task as well. Okay, so we've got almost like a work order within a work order. Now this checklist, this is what I want done. Okay, I want to capture the person's name who's fixing the toilet. So maybe it was Steve. So we capture letters, numbers, checkboxes, dates with time, as well as range values. Okay, so maybe this you wrote up. This is I don't know. Does it flushable? Pressure from 1 to 10. If they put in a 9, all is good, no problem. But if they put in a 12, it's outside of your range. So it'll still let them complete the task, but you will receive an email and a link to this task and the work order that it'll notify you that this data value is outside of your range value that you want. So there's a lot of information here. And again, you can assign one or, unlimited tasks to a single work order. Now, we don't have time today to complete all this stuff, so I'm going to remove the task. Do you have any questions on task management before I move forward?
No, I don't think so.
Excellent. So I've assigned it to some staff. I can add a digital invoice from a vendor. So maybe they sent you a fax or an email saying, yeah, here's the invoice, $400. You could add that. Okay, but we won't add it now. The work hasn't been done yet. You can just create a brand new one. Work order attachments is a database of a storage area of everything that's uploaded to the work order. The company attachments will show every data or whatever you uploaded when you set up your database. So that location I selected, which was called first floor, I have a PDF floor plan showing, every room, etc. I also have a Google map of exactly where this location is on the planet. The equipment that I was selected I have YouTube videos of how to change the filter on this unit here. So, Jeremy, any documentation or attachment or O&M manual that you think will help your team be successful, you assign it to the parts, asset, location, building. It's in everywhere. Okay, so I apologize for going into a lot of detail. Theoretically, all you really had to do is on the mobile say, you know what, I'm giving three days to my vendors and my staff that you just assigned, and you approve the work order. So two things are happening right now. We're sending all this data to the cloud. Nothing gets deleted, by the way, in Maxpanda. Again, it's all on Amazon Cloud Service. There's no backups because it's on 17 instances around the globe. So 24/7 uptime, not 99.9. The only way Maxpanda would ever be not accessible is, one, if your internet is down or your data plan is down, and two is if Amazon was ever out of business, which both are highly unlikely. Now, two things just occurred as you approved the work order. One, you'll notice the work order went from yellow to green. It's approved now. The second thing that happened is the vendors and your maintenance staff received an email and a push alert on their phone or desktop, whatever they're logged in as, and they've been assigned under my to-do list this work order. So let's go ahead and edit the work order as a staff or a maintenance personnel. I'm still logged in as a company admin, but if I was a maintenance personnel, I would not be able to cancel the work order. That's only for supervisor or higher. Okay, maybe the toilet magically fixed itself. You can cancel the work order. The staff would not be able to close, neither would the vendor. We would be able to close the work order. I'm logged in as you right now, Jeremy, company admin. So we're going to skip the put on hold, cancel, completed. back to in progress. This would be put on hold if you ordered parts, let's say from out of town, and you know the parts won't arrive within 3 days. So your staff can actually put it on hold. When the parts arrive, they can put it back to in progress. Maxpanda will timestamp all that for you, and it is reported on. Now today, we'll just pretend the staff completed it and you're ready to close. So here, replaced, let's say metal handle, working fine. So that is what the vendor or one of your maintenance staff put in on the mobile or the desktop. They completed all the tasks. They actually used, each personnel worked different hours on this job. 2 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours, took about 10 hours to fix the toilet. Parts, we'll pretend we used one of everything, okay? So we used one of those metal strings and handles. We had some inventory here, so we used 3 parts here. An invoice, so I'll add an invoice here. Acme Electric actually billed us $409. This is an old invoice. I'll just add it here. So you created it, and then you can add it right now. But theoretically, if this vendor had an account with you, as a vendor unlimited or limited, they would have been able to do that on their mobile phone. We also have digital signature capturing on the mobile app. So they can walk up to you and you can actually sign off on that invoice digitally. That your signature would be captured as a work order attachment under this work order. So we've got, just to recap here, our work orders in Maxpanda captured all the details, the main problem. We are capturing checklists that Jeremy wants to be done. A checklist can be a simple checkbox saying, did you clean up the washroom or your work area after completing your job? We captured, we reduced our inventory by 3, and we're going to capture costs for this work order here. So about $160 or $200. We have labor time, so we will capture total hours and cost worked on this job per user. We have an external vendor cost that will be applied to the asset and the location that we submitted towards. So that building, that location, and the asset will be applied that cost. At this point, it should be orange because your staff or your vendor completed it. We'll skip all that and we'll just close it off. Again, you can put a note here, like whatever you want. That note will be only for system admins right here, added there. I'm not going to put any notes. We'll just keep the notes and comments there. So once again, the work order is, 2 things are happening. It disappeared from Jeremy's list here because, Jeremy, you're hiding your closed work orders. So it has turned brown, and the librarian, Steve, received an email that his work order is now closed. So I'm happy. I know the job is done. Your staff submitted it as orange, obviously, throughout the different stages. So everyone assigned to the work order has been updated and notified. Any questions on the day-to-day emergencies within Maxpanda?
No, one question I thought of was when they submit say Steve the librarian submits a work order, are those fields, can those fields be changed, or are those just standard and they can't be adjusted?
No, they can change. Under company, where is it? Under the company one and preferences, you can change the labels. I showed you, and I showed you the guest portal, all those, remember the checkboxes? So you can actually have 3 things for Steve to submit to. The title, the plumbing, and the priority, the 3 days. That's it.
Okay.
So again, the version of Maxpanda I'm showing you with all columns showing here, all features in the work order, I'm showing you everything because I don't want after the webinar to get an email saying, hey Steve, do you guys have priorities, right? Like I'm showing you everything, but you could customize it as basic as you want and simple as needed.
Okay.
All right. So no questions on submitting work orders. We went through one today. Real quick, let's edit a current PM so you can see what it looks like. So this is a PM on that HVAC unit we did a work order on today. So let's open it up. And obviously you've got air handler units, 3 to 10 of them on the roof. This is one PM. A PM can be assigned to multiple assets or buildings, etc. Now, a PM is only 5 accordions to set up, so very quick. The name of your PM, mine's Ream HVAC Inspection. This is the Ream 5-ton air handler unit. Instead of the 5-day due date or using all of my predefined due dates, I'm giving my team 2 weeks to complete every work order that this PM auto generates, okay? Moving on down, this is what I copy pasted from the manual, the O&M manual. If you don't want to write up all your PMs, you can simply attach the O&M manual to at the PM level, and it'll go right here. It'll be under attachments. I'll show you that in a second. So your PM now, you need to assign it to, or you don't have to, but it's helpful to assign it to a building, a location, the asset, not the truck, let's say this HVAC unit here. This code, this is the asset tag number that is you can define it. It is also printed in the QR code. So if you have 10 units, you can name them, unit 1, 2, 3. So when I go to scan and complete a work order on unit 6, I'll know which one it is. Parts, you can pre-assign parts at the PM level, or these don't need to be here because I pre-assigned already those filters to the asset. Now, the cool thing here is I can assign this PM to my maintenance team and my vendor. And once you do that and save it, Maxpanda takes care of the rest. It'll auto-generate the work order and auto-assign it to these people here and this company. So you don't need to assign it, spend time, doing all that when the work order is generated. Now the schedule, you need to set up a schedule, and if this was a filter change, you can say on the first Monday of every 3 months, I want a work order generated, I want it assigned to those people, and it should go on forever. If you have a contract with a vendor, you can have an end date, or you can say it's for the next year, for example. So every 3 months, 4 work orders, that's a year contract right there. In my world, it'll go on forever. I've pre-assigned 5 different checklists for every work order that this PM generates. And remember, the people assigned to the work order must complete all that before they can complete the work order. So if a work order becomes overdue, you'll know why. They're just not completing the checklist. Attachments, these attachments are going to be added above and beyond what you saw earlier from the work order we did today regarding that HVAC unit. So I have a procedure diagram that explains exactly what we want to do on this piece of equipment. I also have a safety checklist. These 3 will be added to every PM work order on top of the other stuff. Now, every PM you create, Jeremy, we will show you and store for you every work order it has generated. Why is that cool? Because I can go back to April of 2015, and I can actually see what was done to this piece of equipment on every work order. And again, it'll go on for the next 50 pending work orders. So I've got 237 history here. Jeremy, do you have any questions or regarding the PMs at all?
No, it's all pretty straightforward.
Excellent. So let's generate a report here. And before I generate an SLA report, which is a very, very popular one, in reports, you can schedule unlimited reports. For example, this is an SLA. It's a service level agreement report. It'll show you every work order within a time frame. So I want to see what's happening in my world in March, for example. I'm not going to filter out anything, but I want to show here. Let's go header here. I want to know every work order, every PM, and every metering type work order with all statuses, with all categories, and I can schedule this report. And I can add my report in my reports here and email to anybody else or myself every week or every month and in different formats, Excel, CSV, PDF. Okay? If you like this report, you schedule it. Or if you want to break up your reports, let's say you only want to see PMs with all this, you can schedule that. Again, schedule as many as you want, right? We have all your work orders reports. We have asset reports, building location, labor reports, and part reports. So anything that goes into Maxpanda, you will be able to extract and report on it. Now, I'm not going to schedule it. I just want to preview, or sorry, I shouldn't have downloaded. I want to preview this report. We'll download in a CSV file with filters, so you can filter it. We don't need to look at it. It's right here. So I previewed the report, which I can actually now save it in 5 different formats. Here is the your work order today. So service level agreement report, very popular because it deals with time and money. All of this is related to the time. The report shows us the status of the work order, when was it created, when was it approved. Remember the planned due date? The initial due date was 1 day, but we downgraded it. We updated to the real due date of 3 days. We skipped all this stuff here. We just went right to the closed session, closed status. And our reports are all timestamped to the second, right from Amazon servers. Moving over, the middle of the report shows all the details captured, et cetera, et cetera. And at the far end here, it shows you your total hours worked from your staff, the labor cost, the parts cost, the invoice from the vendor, and the total cost. So the broken toilet today cost us $958 to repair. And this report here, I only did 1 month, but shows you every work order within this